Hey everyone, so today we are going to see a tutorial on this new technology for creating hybrid applications, which is Flutter. And before starting this Flutter project, you need some extensions. If you're working in VS Code, we need some extensions which will be really helpful in creating the applications, right? So let me see what are those extensions. First of all, you in the left bar you can see extensions tab here. So click on this extensions tab and you will be able to download some new extensions for your project. So let's see. The first extension which you need is the Dart extension. So this is the Dart extension. Actually, this extension help us to provide some kind of intelligence before writing the code in Dart language. So as you know that this Flutter uses uh, a new programming language which is developed by Google, and this is a Dart language. So before writing the code, we need some kind of suggestions in this language also, right? So you must ensure that you have downloaded this extension. After this, the second extension which you need is Flutter extension. This extensions provide you some kind of intelligence. As you can see that we are building the projects in Flutter, and uh, to get suggestions in this new technology, you also need this extension. This will be really helpful in creating the projects. Okay, so now we can start the development now. Now, before starting the project, we have to understand the folder structure, right? This is a really important part in starting any development by using any framework or any technology. So, as you can see, the name of the project is first tutorial, and under this folder, you can find various subfolders. So they are mainly some important folders which you have to understand what are they used for, right? So the first folder which you have to understand is this Android folder. So as you know that this technology provides us to write a native code for Android and iOS. Now they also have a feature for providing the code for web technology as also. So the first thing which you have to understand is this Android folder. So for example, if you want to change some native code in Android, so you can access this folder and make changes in Android specific. After this, we have this iOS folder, right? So in this folder, you can find the code written in Swift language, where you can do specific changes for iOS. Now, after this is the most important folder in while you are developing the projects. In this folder, this is a lib folder. In this, you can find all of your components, all of your widgets, all of the folders, or all the files which you are creating in the project. After discussing the lib folder, we have this analysis options.yml file. So under this file, you will be finding all the analysis options. This analysis options help you to write the code in a good practices. Like whenever you write a code, right, it must be readable by the developers. So there are some warnings, there are some errors which we do unintentionally, which can be resolved by using this file. We will be discussing about these analysis options when we start developing the project. So let's move on to the next file. This is the most important file, which is the pubspec.yml file, in which you are going to find all of your packages, external packages, which you are going to install for your project. So currently we have, let me just give you a brief introduction to this file actually. So over here you can see the version of your the version control of your project. So currently we have this version, current version of our project. You can increase the version according to your when you are building new versions of a project, you can change the version number from here. After this, we have this SDK version, right? So the SDK version is really important whenever you download any package or any kind of new things, new add-ons which you are adding to your project, because there are various supports, there are various projects, or there are various packages which support different SDK versions. So it is very important before downloading any package to check this SDK version. After this, we have this dependencies section. So in this dependency sections, what we will doing, we will be including all of our external dependencies or internal dependencies. Right? You can see we have included this Cupertino icons. So this is the dependency which is used for providing the Cupertino UI elements to us. We will be discussing about the new packages or uh, new libraries when we start the development, right? So this is a brief introduction to this pubspec.yaml file. There are a lot of things to understand about this, but as a beginner, you have to understand these things which I have told you right now. Okay, so now moving on to our next step, which is this main.dot file. So as you can see under this lib folder, you will find this main.dot file. So in this Dart language, what happens exactly is that whenever you run any code in Dart language, you need a main function. So this main functions run the code which you are gonna write or any project should be under this main function. The compiler first execute this main function whenever you write any code, right? So by default, when you create a new Flutter project, you are going to get a sample project. You're going to get a sample project, right? So this is a sample project which they have provided. It is a counter application, and first of all, let's run this project and let's explore what they have provided to us, right? So to run any project in Flutter, what you have to do, if you are using VS Code, then go to the terminal tab over here and click on it, create a new terminal. So as I have already created a new terminal, you can see over here. So this is your terminal. So before writing any command in the terminal, make sure your current working directory should be under your Flutter project, right? So currently I am not in my Flutter project. So as you can see, the name of that project is first tutorial, right? So I have to change the directory. So to change the directory, write cd and the name of your project. So now I am successfully entered my working directory right here. Now, to run any project in Flutter, you need to type command which is flutter run. Then press enter to execute this command. So I have already executed this command because it takes some time to execute. And to save some time, I have already executed this command. So after executing this command, you will get this message. So after running the command flutter run, you will be able to see your project is successfully running on your Android emulator. Make sure your Android emulator is connected uh, before starting the Flutter development, right? So you can see this is your default application which is provided to us by the Flutter team, and this is a counter application. So let me discuss you what are the components which you can see in this application. First of all, you can see this is the application bar, which is also known as app bar. The title of the app bar is Flutter demo homepage, right? You can also define this title, and after this you can see we have a text at the center. You can see that the number of times you will push this floating action button, it's going to increase this number. So let me click over here. You can see the number is increasing as I'm clicking on tapping on this button again and again. So this is the basic working of this application. So now we are going to start our development. So basically we are not going to use this code which is provided to us by the Flutter team, because it uses some concepts of stateful and stateless widgets, which we'll be discussing in the further sections. So actually we will be writing the code from scratch to understand each and everything line by line, right? So let me just comment out the code. Now let's start writing our code from scratch. The first thing which we need is the main function, which I already told you. In Dart language, we require a main function to run our programs, right? So let me add a main function. If you understand how does a function work, then you must know the return type of a function. The return type will be void here, main. This is your main function. So whatever you write in this function is going to be executed first, right? So in Flutter, what you have to do is whenever you write any code, you have to specify your one constructor, which is run application. So this is a constructor which is provided by Flutter to us, and in this run application, you are going to provide your UI elements. So the first UI element will be your welcome screen, obviously. Then we will be writing our welcome screen here. So any screen or any widget or any UI component in Flutter is treated as a class. So as we all know that a class uses a constructor to be called, right? So to create any UI screen or UI element, we have to create a class and call the constructor to see that screen on our emulator, right? So after this, let's create a class so that we can call the class constructor in our run application constructor, right? So there are two types of classes you can create in Flutter. The first one is the stateless widget, and second one is the stateful widget. So we will be discussing about these two types of widgets in our further sections, because to understand those concepts, you have to understand how to make a class first, right? So let's create a class for our first application. So the keyword for class is this, and let's give a name to our screen. Let's say it is a home screen. So let me write home screen over here. And before creating any class in Flutter, you have to extend the class. If you understand the concept of classes or inheritance, then it will be easier for you to understand these concepts. So we have to extend the class with the stateless widget. For it now, we are using the stateless widget of Flutter. As I already told you, there are two types of widgets in Flutter: stateless and stateful. So for understanding purposes, we are using stateless widget. You will be able to understand what this widget is used for when we write our code completely. So first, let me extend this class with a stateless widget. Now we have our class, right? So as you know that whenever we extend a new class, we got a overrideable function. So there's a override function for this class, extended class. So to override any function, you have to write this keyword like the rate override. Now, the function which we are going to override is the build function. So this build function is predefined in this class, stateless widget class, or any stateful widget class. So this build function, what it does is it executes your UI elements and into this constructor. So the build function is going to return a widget. So any element, any UI element in Flutter is known as a widget. So we have to define a return type to that function, which is widget. And the name of the function is build function. So this build function accepts one argument, which is build context. We'll be discussing about this building context when we discuss the code completely, because it will be difficult for you to understand this right now. So build context. For now, just understand we are going to pass a parameter to this function, which is going to be the build context. Okay, so this is your build context, and now this function is going to return something to the constructor. So let me write return, and this return statement So this is your return statement right here. So whatever you write inside this return statement is going to be returned to this build function, and that thing is known as a widget, right? Or the UI element which you are going to return. The current UI element is going to be our home screen. This is your entire screen which we are going to return by this function right now. So this is your return statement, and you have to return something by this return statement or return block. So the whatever we are returning should be a widget type, right? So because we have defined this as the type, return type of our build function. So the first thing, whenever you create a run app function over here, this is a run app function. It accepts a material application, right? So material application is a widget, and you have to define this widget right here. So we are going to return a material material app. As you can see, the IntelliSense is also working as we have already installed the extensions. So this is your material application. So let me remove these two parentheses first, so that it will be easier to understand this, right? So this is your material app, and we are going to return this application. So as you can see, this is a constructor, and this is a constructor, and this comes under this class material application, right? So a class obviously has some variables, some data variables to it, and these are the, you can see when you hover around over this function, over this constructor, you can see all the parameters, all the data variables here. So the main variable which it requires is this home variable. So this home variable, let me write this home variable. So this home variable needs a widget which is going to be rendered on the screen. So initially we are going to render a container, simple container. Like if you are familiar with web technology, you will be able to understand this, what a container means. A container is nothing but which contains something, contains some UI elements in it, right? So this is a container which we are going to define initially. So let me recap this. We have this return statement, and this it is returning a material application, right? And this material application has a child which is a home, to be a container, simple container, right? So you can define various properties to this container, the color and the height and width of this container. So let's give some height and width to it. So let's define the width first. Width, let's say the width to be 100, and the height, its container to be 100 also. Let's provide some color to this also. The color is also a property of this constructor, right? So you can define a color of this container. To access any color in this Flutter, we are going to use this colors class of Flutter, right? So this color class, this is a class, and this comes under this package, Flutter package, right? Material package which we have imported at the start of our application main.dart file, right? So this is the package which provides you this colors class, and you can access any color by accessing this class member, right? This colors. So for example, I want to define an orange colors. You can write colors dot orange like this. So now we will be getting a color. So let's predict what will be the output of this code right now. So before that, what we have to do is this home screen needs to be passed as a constructor over here. And that, as I already told you, this run app accepts a widget which needs to be built initially into your application. So the initial widget is the home screen, and we have to pass a constructor over here, right? So this is the constructor. This is the code. Let's see what will be the output, final output of this code. To run your application, what you have to do is go to the terminal and press capital R or small r. So let me press capital R. What it does, it actually hot restarts your application and builds everything from scratch. Make sure before refreshing or restarting your application by pressing capital R, you must save your project, right, by pressing Ctrl plus S. So application is restarted over here. You can see. Let's open the emulator, and this is the final output which we get, and it is also expected, right? we have a container, and this is the width and height of the container, and this is the color. Now let's provide some text, because whenever we start any programming language, we write a hello world program, right? So let's display hello world to our screen, right? So a container also have a property of child. You can provide childs to this container. The things which is going to be contained by this container will come under this child property. A container can only have one element at a time, right? So we are going to provide a text. So this is text. It is also a widget, right? And it is a constructor, right? Which is a class, text class. Now the first parameter of this constructor will be the text which we have to write on the screen, which is hello world, right? So this is your first text which we are going to write on your screen. You can also provide some styling to it, because on orange background it will be easier to see a white text, right? So let's change the color of this text. So the second parameter could be anything like color or style of the text. So let's define the color. The color of the text should come under the style property of this tag. So let me write the style, and this style accepts textile constructor. This is a constructor which is textile, and you can define the color of this, or the font size, or anything which is related to formatting the text. The color needs to be white, right now, white color. And yeah, so let's see what will be the output of this code. Let's save it, and let's do a restart or reload. Let's open the emulator. You can see the hello world is printed at the top left of the screen, right? So we want it to center. We want it to be on the center of the screen, right? So to do that, what you have to do is wrap this text widget into a center widget. So we are going to use a center widget right now. So there is one trick to it. So you don't have to write center again and again, right? If you want to wrap any widget into some other widget, you can right click on the widget and click on this refactor. This is a property. This is a property of VS Code which you can use. You can see we have a wrap with center option here. You can wrap this widget into a center widget. It has automatically done the task for you. This is a center widget, and it has a child of text. Let's save the code, and let's reload it. Now, as you can see, this has centered your hello world text at the center of the screen right now. Now, this is your hello world, the first program which you wrote, and I hope you understand the concepts of the Flutter. These are the basic concepts which are very important for any beginner. And thank you for watching this.